This lesson shall be about the concepts of simple interest and compound interest. Interest is something that all banks give out. You could have a savings account, you could have a fixed deposit, you could have a loan. In the case of savings account or fixed deposit, the bank gives you interest. In case you have a loan, you have to pay interest to the bank. From the bank's point of view, for any deposit, the bank has to give interest to the customers, and for every loan, the bank has to collect interest from the customers. Interest can be defined as the return that you get on any money that you invest. Let us look at some key terms here. The first is a principal. Principal is the amount of money that you invest in something. The second term is interest. Interest is the amount that you earn on your principal. And an amount. Amount is the final value of your investment after the investment period is over. Principal plus interest equals amount. The money that you invest plus the money that you earn as interest, the sum total of it is the final value of your investment, also known as the amount. The interest you earn is expressed as a percentage of the principal. That percentage is known as an interest rate, or the percentage of principal that you earn back on your investment. There are two main kinds of interest that you can earn. The first is called simple interest, and the second is called compound interest. Let's try and understand these two types of interest better. Simple interest is interest that is paid on the original principal only, whereas compound interest is compounded on the original principal. Whereas compound interest is interest that is paid on the original principal as well as the accrued interest. What that means is, in the case of simple interest, if you invest a principal of 1000 rupees at the start of year 1, let's say the interest rate is 10%. So the interest at the end of year 1 shall be 100 rupees. At the start of year 2, your principal shall be 1000 rupees. On the other hand, in compound interest, if the principal at the start of year 1 is 1000, at an interest rate of 10%, let's say the interest you earn is 100. At the start of year 2, this interest is added to your principal. So your principal at the start of year 2 is 1100. That is, in year 2, you shall earn interest on the total amount, that is 1000 plus 100 equal to 1100. In the case of simple interest, you earn your interest only on the original principal, which was 1000 rupees. Let us look at some key formulae for the calculation of simple interest and compound interest. Simple interest is given by the formula P into R into T by 100. The amount at the end of the investment period is given by the principal plus simple interest. Here, P is your principal, R is your rate of interest, T is time period of investment, A is the amount, and SI is simple interest. The second formula is that for compound interest. In compound interest, amount is given by P into 1 plus R by N raised to the power NT. Interest is the difference between amount and principal. In this case, A is amount, P is principal, R is your annual interest rate. If you open any fixed deposit or account in your bank, the rate of interest that the bank specified is always on an annualized basis. So R here is your annual interest rate. N is the number of times that this interest is compounded annually. For an example, suppose you have a fixed deposit that pays you interest every quarter. So the interest would be compounded annually 4 times. That is, the interest would be calculated and paid out 4 times. In that case, N would be 4. T is the time period in years. T is the time period in years of the entire investment. Let us now look further at the different kinds of questions that can be asked regarding the interest concept. The first would be through direct application of the simple interest formula. That is, A question of this kind perhaps, that Raj will earn with simple interest an amount of 815 in 3 years and 854 in 4 years. So what is his principal? We know the formula for amount, so we shall just put that in here. Amount equal to principal plus simple interest, that is principal plus P into R into T by 100. We know that after 3 years he earns an amount of 815. Therefore 815 equal to P plus P into R into 3 by 100. That reduces to this linear equation. Similarly, after 4 years, he earns an interest of 854. Substituting that in the formula, we come up with another linear equation. We can solve these two linear equations now and come up with the value for P as 698. So, his original principal was 698 rupees. In 3 years, he will earn an amount of 815 and in 4 years, his amount shall be 854. The second type of question will involve the direct application of the compound interest formula. For instance, Rohit earns an interest of Rs 7,791 of his FD, which is for 30,000 rupees. This has been invested at 8% per annum and is compounded annually. What is the time period of the FD in years? The amount here is 37791 because his FD principal is 30,000 and the interest earned is 7,791. So the final amount that Rohit earns shall be 37,791. Putting that in the formula for compound interest, we get T equal to 3. So the time period of Rohit's FD is 3 years. Let us look at some tips and shortcuts for solving a more complex kind of problem that can be asked in the IBPS. This complex kind of problem that I am referring to is when you have different interest rates. There might be some investment options where you earn a different interest rate for a different time period. It could also be a loan with a floating interest rate where the interest rate varies from year to year. For that kind of a scenario, if you remember this formula from our percentages lecture, you can use the exact same thing. Amount equal to principal into 1 plus R1 by 100 into 1 plus R2 by 100 and so on. Here R1, R2, R3 and so on up to Rn are the interest rates in different periods. This formula is a useful shortcut because without this formula, you would have to calculate the amount and interest for each period separately. As in, if you are earning 4% in the first quarter, 3% in the second quarter and so on, you would have to calculate interest for the first quarter and then calculate it again for the second quarter, etc. etc. On the other hand, this formula enables you to come to the amount in the quickest way possible and to get it directly.